I'm going to tell the story of Protohadros in a minute. These are just some artist renditions. Hadrosaurs traveled in groups and herds, dug small, shallow nests, laid eggs in them. Evidence says they stayed with, the adults stayed with until the babies hatched and they walked off with them. They also called these creatures lawnmowers of the Cretaceous because they would have come into a wooded area and they would practically denude the trees of vegetation. Okay, Protohadros. Arlington, Arkansas sites Protohadros is not the first one that was ever found nor named. Protohadros was discovered in Flower Mound in 1992. Skull along roadside construction. That doesn't really tell the story. I'll tell you the real story. Gary Bird was out managing a road crew out north of 2499 on the north end of Grapevine Lake. They were putting the road in there and they came across big rock formation. They tried to bust them open with jackhammers and stuff like that and couldn't do it. So Gary says, let's just go ahead and get some dynamite in here and drill some holes and light it off. They did that. Zzz, boom. Gary and the crew run back in there and Gary goes, oh my gosh, we just blew up a dinosaur. The head survived, a few of the limb bones, some ribs, a few minor pieces, but at least they had a head of a creature. So, Jason Head, the student at SMU, works on the head and comes up with a creature called Protohadros. Protohadros has only been found here, not out of our area, just North Texas. It's not any place else in the world. And it's kind of ugly. It's got this big drop snout in the front, whereas the other hadrosaur skull, see how straight across that is in the back? Protohadros had a drop jaw. Am I going the right way? No, I'm going the other way. So anyway, so Protohadros was named primitive hadrosaur, first hadrosaur. It was, of course, time-wise, it's right in the middle between iguanodon and hadrosaurs. So they said this is maybe the first hadrosaurs. These are pictures of the original remains of Protohadros Birdie. They named it after him. That is in the Schuler Museum up there. But anyway, that's the stuff that escaped the explosives. These slides here just are showing you what the different types of bones and where they are located on the body. Okay, to give you an idea of what the different vertebrae look like. This is actually a dorsal vertebra, which is probably right here on my body. And of course there's stacks of those. And between the appendage on the top, they have a lattice work of tendons that make the tail very rigid. So it uses it as a counterweight so it can pull up. Protohadros, all these hadrosaurs, iguanodon, could walk on 4 and run on 2 because of those tendons between the vertebrae. This is another dorsal vertebra, gives you a blue marker that shows where it's located on that body. Then again, here's another one to show you the different shapes that can come. We have some here. Here's the scapula, which I put on the kitchen table, or the conference room table. That scapula was very important because that scapula that we recovered that night showed that it was heavily built and strong like iguanodon, but not hadrosaurs. So we're telling you that Protohadros here in North Texas is more directly related to iguanodon than it is to the wimpy hadrosaurs. Okay? Did Protohadros have a thumb spike though? I know the answer and you're going to get it here pretty quick. Everybody doubts everybody, and that's in science. That's how the scientific process works. Back early on, I uncovered 2 thumb spikes. This is before the juveniles, the babies were found, or anything like that. This is scattered remains. Derek Main refused to believe me that they were thumb spikes. Okay? And that's his job, is to question everything. So I got kind of mad, and I called up Jim Kirkland, the state of Utah paleontologist, who's very experienced. Okay? And I said, what are they? He goes, you have found Protohadros thumb spikes. So therefore, Protohadros is more directly related at this point to Iguanodon. Okay, which I think that's pretty neat. Anyway, more ischiums, different type of bones that were recovered. All of what you're seeing here is stuff from Protohadros olivia. These bones have not even been cleaned yet. That's how they came out of the ground. They're much better looking today. But anyway, so what do we have? We have a Protohadros is more directly related to Iguanodon. We have something we call the Arlington T-Rex. What that picture doesn't show you is that tooth's about that big. It's real small. That's kind of a joke. We have not found a big predator there. Years ago, I found a toe claw, quite big one, probably the size of my thumb and my finger. Okay, that was put in the UTA storage in the collections labs, and it's never been seen since. We don't know where it is. So anyway, I guess we got to find another one. It was a rough time in North Arlington back then. There's a lot of creatures that were out running around. There were big predators around here in North Texas. They are much older. We have a creature that is called Acrocanthosaurus. Acrocanthosaurus is our T-Rex. It had functional arms, stronger pectoral stuff. It had taller spines on its back than T-Rex, and it was not quite as big. And there is a rendition of Acrocanthosaurus on the north side of the Fort Worth Science and History Museum. You can walk up to it and see it. A lot of people walk by it and think it's T-Rex. It's Acrocanthosaurus. There have been, don't hold me to this, I believe 6 locations where Acrocanthosaurus remains have been found, primarily most of them on the Oklahoma-Texas border. I can tell you that we do have another place here, that I can't tell you where it's at, that is containing and producing some Acrocanthosaurus material. The teeth are still razor sharp. You can cut your fingers by holding them. So it's always a warning. But anyway, that could be something, that's fragmentary remains, but we do have a location that will probably, I have to talk to the mayor of this little town to get that, but he likes us, so we're good. Anyway, Arlington Archosaur site, vicious place. Now I get to tell you a story about Nancy, my wife. This is what I've got to do for you. Back in 2003, when the Arlington Archosaur site was founded, I was a single man raising my daughter Olivia. I had gone through a divorce, and I went to church, and I've been praying and asking God to send me somebody to help me, because I didn't know anything about girly things. Okay? So anyway, I'm sitting in row 3 on the left in church. No sooner did I quit praying, I turned around and looked, and Nancy walks in the door. And I look at her and I think, she's awful young. Is that her? And she's looking at me and scowling at me. And she had been asking for the same thing. And when she walked in and saw me sitting in her place, she took that as an omen. Well, maybe that's him. And she was going, but he's awful old. Okay? I've been married to Nancy for 20 years, whatever. Been around. She's been around. So anyway, so she comes walking down the aisle, and she sits on the right-hand side, directly across the aisle from me. And I lean over to Olivia and I said, after the services, we're going to see if this lady wants to go for Chinese food. Okay? Going to go to lunch. Well, Services were over. I get up out of my chair, walk across the aisle, and I go, hello, my name is Art Salstein. Would you like to come to my house and see my bones?
Oh.
That's true. And she just, it short-circuited her mind. She went, and she goes, thought back, she says, well, I kind of asked God for him to be here. She goes, sure. So anyway, so we go out and Olivia and I and her go out and have something to eat, and then we go back to the house, and everywhere you could place a bone in my house, there was a bone. Because this is prior to UTA getting involved with everything. This is what I had to do. Everywhere. Kitchen counters, kitchen table, there were bones all over. So she asked me, she goes, you know, I kind of like to go dig some bones. And I said, okay, well, Saturday, we didn't have a scheduled dig, so it was just her and I alone. I says, okay, show up here at the house and I'll take you down there. So I went out and got her a big, cheap Walmart patio umbrellas, because she's really fair. I knew she would just roast down there. You know, it's 105. So we get down in there, we're working, we have dug down into, imagine this is solid sediments, and we're down here at the bottom working, and we came across 2 vertebrae that were sitting in there, beauties, nice ones. And I'm all like going, you gotta let me do that. You gotta let me do that. She goes, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I said, okay, just listen to me. So I looked up, and this was cracking. It had been dry for so long, it was cracking. I looked up and I said, you might want to get away from that real quick. I'm going to go to the truck and get some poles and we'll knock that down. It could collapse on you and it might kill you. I took a few steps to the truck and I heard it crack, and that whole wall fell over on her. Pow! From probably 12 feet up, fell down on her. She's kneeling down at the bottom. It blew her back, and her head and one of her arms was sticking out. And I went over to her and I said, hello. I said, can you breathe? Can you breathe? And she goes, yeah. And I says, well, it's going to take me about an hour to dig you out.
Did you get a picture?
Huh? I should have. So I dug her out of there, and I backed the truck up and I tied a rope to the hitch, and I
Drug her out.
and I said, if you have problems breathing, I'm going to wrap this rope around you, and I don't care if I break your bones. I'm going to jerk you out and at least get you some air. Right? So I dug her out, about probably 45 minutes. I got her out from underneath all the deal, and she was beat up, bruised, blue bruises all over. So I said, now I'm going to take you back to the house. I'm going to take care of you. I've got that guest bedroom downstairs. I said, I'm going to take care of you, and if you want to go to the hospital, I'll take you. And she goes, no, I'll be okay. I just need to recover. So she stayed with me Saturday afternoon, Sunday, and then she said, you need to help me get up. I need to go. So I helped her to her car. She could barely walk. And I got her in the car, and as she pulled off down the road, I said, well, that's the last I'll ever see of her. Okay. Take a girl on a date and almost kill him. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of that week. It was Thursday, I think. I get the phone call. She calls me up and she goes, you know, I feel much better. We need to go get those bones out. So I figured, that's the one for me. So she's been with me ever since. But anyway, it's dangerous. There's lots of dangers and stuff. Many things that can happen in that river valley that you can get in trouble. All right. This little young man here in the upper right, his name is Austin Motherall. For years, Austin's mother came to me at my work. She worked with me and said, Austin's really interested in what you're doing with the dinosaur stuff. I said, well, he's such a nice young man. It's not that I knew him real well. Can he come and learn from you? I said, certainly, absolutely. Be a joy to have him. So what would happen is his mom would drop him off, or I'd grab him or whatever, and he'd end up at my house for the weekends, and he would follow me around and work with me. Now Austin at that time was probably 13 years old, so he's underneath that 17-year age limit. But we just never told him. I had somebody ask me, say, he can't be here. I says, he's my nephew. Shut up. So anyway, and everybody thought that Austin was really related to me. So, and he was such a good guy. So as we were digging there at the Arlington, Arkansas site, what happens is you dig, you end up sifting, or you end up with buckets, Home Depot buckets, and then you carry the buckets up and you pile them away from the excavations. And these mountains, they become mountains. And eventually you run out of places to store old dirt. And so he comes to me, and he said, Derek and I, and he goes, hey, my dad just bought a new John Deere front loader tractor, and we can't work in here. Why don't I just bring it down here and we'll clean it up. We'll push these piles back out in the river valley. Well, we said, we really don't like having that heavy equipment around these bones. Can damage them. But we knew we needed some more space. So Derek turns to me and says, hey, me and Austin, he points over there and he goes, see where we're parking our cars right over there? Go ahead and just move some of that dirt, smooth it out over there, okay? So he shows up on a Sunday morning, Austin and his dad, Les, and I've known his dad a long time. And I said, Austin, I was fixing to go teach Sunday school. I said, Austin, if anything happens, you call me. So I got in the truck and went to church. I'm standing in front of my Sunday school class, and all of a sudden, I'm just ready to talk, and my phone rings. It's Austin. He's all out of breath. He said, Mr. Arthur, there's bones everywhere. I said, stop the tractor. Just leave it where it's at. Don't move it. I'll be right there. Bless you, my children, I said, and I jumped in. Jumped in the truck and down in the river valley. When I got there, there was a tremendous, he had uncovered, with 3 backward scrapes of his bucket, he had exposed 1,000 bones. All these little pieces in here are bones. And they were big crocodile bones. Big crocodile. This is the upper jaw. You can see the tooth sockets where the teeth were in. The teeth were in here. They were just all mumbled up. That, I just freaked out. I said, oh gosh, there's no way we're going to be able to get this out of here right away. So I called Nancy. Nancy sent out an email, said we had a major bone alert. And we need this. And our generator blew up. We needed a generator. We need awnings. We need food. We need this and that. Word got out in the community. And Starbucks was delivering us coffee in the mornings. A pizza place was bringing us pizzas. We set up 3 shifts. So we covered 24 hours. So we dug for 24 and documented 24 hours a day for 6.5 days to get all these bones out of the ground. We called the event Crocorama. Croc around the clock. Okay? Well, word got out about that. The press is all over it. And we've got film crews down there. They're filming this as people are pulling up with opening their trunks and bringing us water and whatever. The public just went crazy and just whatever we wanted, they gave it to us. This guy shows up with an office trailer. Fought it. There's no paved roads down there. Bounced that trailer down in there. Got a generator hooked up to it. And I started reassembling the skull of this crocodile during my break times in that trailer. There's me putting the two halves of the lower jaw together. Actually, it's upside down. See, so that's the bottom that you see on the top. But I was laying them out on this counter that was in there. And so we had a professional photographer in there taking repeated shots as I was putting all these things together. That ended up being a new species of super croc. It was 23 feet long. So it's me to you, about 23 feet. That's a big crocodile. Okay? And then, bing, 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 I started thinking, Protohydros olivia's scapula with the white marks on it, that was scrape marks from where that big crocodile had killed her and was ripping the flesh off of the shoulders of that thing. Most likely, that's what it is.